Welcome to the Championship Rounds podcast. This is episode 1, where we're talking about everything in the world of fighting, from Triple G Canelo to David Branch, Luke Rockhold. We're also going to be talking about Demetrius Johnson, Michael Bisping, GSP, everything in the world of fighting. I think we need to start off with the big fight. Triple G Canelo, the controversial draw. A lot of people can make the claim that the fight was a lot closer than most people thought. You know, Canelo's shots seem to be more effective, but that's not how boxing works. I, alongside loads of other people, well, the majority of people, thought that Triple G won the fight. Now, I wanted Canelo to win the fight. I'm a big Canelo fan, but I had to admit it. I thought Triple G did enough to win the fight, controlled the fight. But the big controversy came through Judge Adelaide Bird scoring the contest. 10 rounds to 2 for Canelo. Now, you can be the biggest Canelo fan in the world, and you still would not have given him 10 rounds there. It sent the boxing world into meltdown. A lot of big names coming out talking about it. I mean, Brian Campbell from CBS described Adelaide Bird's scoring as a federal offense. You had Teddy Atlas come out and really give in my opinion, one of the best rants in sports history from what I can remember, because he really does tell it as it is. You know, too many people, I think, are scared to admit it, but Teddy Atlas does a great job. We're going to go ahead and listen to it now, because he makes a lot of important points. There being no oversight in boxing, just really talking about the corruption in boxing. Okay, we're going to go ahead and listen to it, because I think it's important that people listen to it.
Wherever there's big money, there's room for corruption. We understand that, but that's not restricted to the sport of boxing. At the end of the day, two guys got in the ring. They fought valiantly for 12 rounds. We have a problem with one judge's decision. That's what this comes down to. We have a problem with one judge's decision.
There's money to be made in the casino business, but there is an oversight board to make sure there's no corruption. There's no oversight board in boxing. There's no commission. There's no national commission. No federal guidelines. Nobody looking and saying, can't do that. Can't do that. You can't be in charge. Promoter can't be in charge of who the judges are going to be. No, of course you want these judges. You can't be in charge. We're in charge. We're going to oversee it. We're going to police it. We're going to make sure that there's no corruption. There's nothing. There's everywhere else in the garment business, there's corruption. But there's an oversight. In the Wall Street, there's corruption. But there's oversight.
There's no oversight. And there's consequences. Calm down. Hold on, Teddy. There's always been, yes, you have oversight. But even with oversight, I could sit here and give you a laundry list of situations in various sports where there was oversight and there was still corruption. What happens is there's ramifications for those corruptions, and that you eliminate it. The fact of the matter is, with this judge, you eliminate this person. You make sure
she'll be working again. She'll be working again. She will be working again. I make you a bet. I love you. I make you a bet.
Okay.
We should forget about the robbery because it was a good fight. What if it wasn't a good fight?
No, you don't forget about it. No, you don't forget about it.
That's what happens.
No, you don't forget about it.
That's what happens. That's what happens.
Let me ask you a question.
We start
Let me ask you a question. No. Let me ask you a question. I want to go to history. When you saw
the history is what I'm talking about. That's the history.
Who loves any administrator?
No other sport does this happen on a regular basis.
Who loves administrators?
What other sport does this happen to on a regular basis? None.
What other sport do you see people saying we love the administrators? What's wrong with you, Teddy?
Are
I
you
mean, even
kidding
in
me?
the NFL, everybody
Name-
decries
name another-
Roger Goodell. Nobody loves
No, hey,
administrators.
listen, don't twist it
Nobody.
around because you're a college graduate and you're trying to twist it around and be real quick on your words. Stop that crap. Stop it. Stop it. We're talking about, let's be
Nobody
straight
loves
here.
administrators,
Come
Teddy.
on, let's stop it. There
I
is
have to
no administration of a sport
bogus
that
decision.
has been worse than boxing. Nobody has a worse track record than boxing. Nobody.
There we have it, Teddy Atlas going off on the current situation in boxing. I think he said a lot of important things there. There being no real oversight in boxing, you know, a commission stopping a lot of the small intricacies that maybe go unnoticed to the general public. He did say that he bet that Adelaide Bird would be working again. I'd agree with Teddy there. I think she'll be working again. I don't think she should be allowed to work again. Or there should be an investigation. I think after these fights, there needs to be a commission that sit down with any of these controversial scorecards and say, look, why did you score it like this? And go through round and try and understand where the logic comes from. But either way, the decision stands. A draw marks both their records now, so we move on. There's not a lot we can do. So the other big fight that day was, I say big fight, it was on FS1, UFC Fight Night, Rockhold versus Branch. Luke Rockhold stops David Branch. It was an entertaining fight. David Branch showed that he wasn't, just there as a pushover fight for Rockhold. David Branch he was ranked number 9 in the world, I think, in the division. After the fight, Luke Rockhold called out Michael Bisping, saying that he deserves the fight and GSP should step aside, and I didn't like that. I think a true champion. He lost to Michael Bisping in June of 2016. That's over a year ago, and he's been inactive until now. And you can't take a year off, dodging opponents, and then get one win on a fight night card and demand to be back in the fighting for the title. I don't think that works. I think a true champion needs to step up and prove why they should be fighting for the title. He should have taken on some big names while he had the chance. I think he had the chance to fight Gegard Mousasi, Yoel Romero. Really needed to take a big name off his list for me. Maybe I think at this point he just needs to let Bisping and GSP play out and just take the winner. I guess that's what's going to happen. But to call out Bisping again, Bisping beat him in UFC 199. That's a long time ago. So I don't know much about that, but so a fight that didn't happen recently was Demetrius Johnson, Ray Borg. Ray Borg was ill, so that's being moved to 216 on October 7th. That is on the Tony Ferguson versus Kevin Lee card. Now, I think this tells you everything you need to know about Demetrius Johnson. Now, let's not get me wrong. I'm a big fan of Demetrius Johnson. I think he's one of the greatest champions of all time. It's hard to say. You'd have to say he's the pound for pound king at the moment because he's coming up on this big title record of defenses, beating Anderson Silva's record. But you look at the people he's fought. there's a few big names in there I like, Joey Benavidez, Henry Cejudo, John Dodson, but it's made up of every time Demetrius Johnson signs a bout agreement, I think he's clever in the way he does it because he knows that it's going to be light work for him. I mean, if you look at the betting odds before all his fights, he's the heavy favourite to win. I would have liked to see personally him break the record with a big name like TJ Dillashaw. But he was offered that fight, but no, he wanted Ray Borg, which is smart on his behalf, I think, because Ray Borg's probably a lot easier an opponent than TJ Dillashaw for Mighty Mouse. But yeah, so I think he'll break the record, and then maybe after that, I think he needs to take on a big name, because Dana White once said that Demetrius Johnson held the record for the lowest ratings on a pay-per-view, and that they tried promoting him, but he's just not that big of a draw. And you'd think, with all these title defenses of his, that he'd be the biggest star in the sport, but if you talk to the casual fan, they don't even know who he is. So he needs a big name in his record to just propel him into that stardom. But that's what I've got to say about Demetrius Johnson right now. I think he really needs to work on his promoting. I know he has a Twitch stream and all of that, but I really think he needs to start appealing more to the casual fan. So another fight that's, well, after 216, after that, we've got one of the best cards there is. It's UFC 217, Michael Bisping, GSP. I can't wait for this card. I think it's amazing. Michael Bisping is one of my favourite fighters. He's taken on George St. Pierre in his big return to the sport after years off. I think GSP is the favourite, the betting odd favourite, but a lot of people are saying that Michael Bisping will have the better of him. George is one of the greatest of all time. He's on the Mount Rushmore of the sport, but he's taken so long off. I mean, Chael Sonnen once said he didn't believe in ring rust. He came back and fought Tito Ortiz in Bellator, and he admitted that ring rust is not a myth. I think ring rust will be a big factor in this fight. A lot of people are saying that George is, what's the correct way to say it? His mind is not in the right place. On the Joe Rogan podcast, he was talking about being taken by aliens and that he's missing time because aliens come to him when he sleeps. And Joe Rogan was talking about how he took over 800 shots to the head in his career, and maybe that is a more legitimate factor towards why he feels that he's missing time and then aliens coming to him in his sleep. So I don't know where his head's at. I don't know if he's in the right frame of mind to take on someone like Michael Bisping, but I really can't wait for this fight. I think Michael Bisping will do it. Maybe I'm a bit biased because I'm a massive Michael Bisping fan, but I really can't wait for this fight. The card is amazing. You've got Garbrandt and Dillashaw as the co-main event, which could easily headline a card on its own. One of the most bitter rivalries in the sport. I know they've never fought, but absolutely hate each other after Dillashaw leaving Team Alpha Male and joining Dwayne Ludwig. So many little details that make that fight just a real draw. I mean, I feel you could promote this fight to the casual fan, and they would be up for it. It's incredible. I can't wait. I really don't know what's going to happen. I'm a big Cody Garbrandt fan, so hopefully I want Cody Garbrandt to win. I used to be a big TJ Dillashaw fan too, so I can't call it. I can't call this one, but I'm so excited for it. And then I'm really excited for. I hope Dominic Cruz comes back and fights the winner of this fight, because I think that could be a massive pay-per-view. Massive pay-per-view. You've got some great fighters on this card. You've got Joanna Jacek, Thug Rose. That's a great fight. It's a great fight. You have Johnny Hendricks. I know he's not been as great in recent years, and he seems to miss weight. Maybe coming towards the end of his career, maybe should think about retiring, but who knows, maybe he can get it done in this one. You got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson on this card. You've even got the rising youngster in Mickey Gall on this card. He's always interesting to watch, because we don't know what we're getting with Mickey Gall. I mean, I know he beat Mike Jackson, beat CM Punk. You know, you can't judge a fighter off those fights, but then he beat Sage Northcutt. And now he's going to come out and fight Brown. Randy Rude Boy Brown. I think this is going to be a more competitive fight than Mickey Gall's last few fights. He has a 100% submission record from what I remember. He doesn't. I think Brown has the reach and the height on him in this fight. I really think this is going to be a fun fight. I think you're going to see a lot of swinging for the fences, to put it, for lack of a better term. I did see something the other day about Michael Bisping saying that this could be his last fight, and I do listen to the Believe You Me podcast, and I remember him saying he wanted to do this fight, then defend his belt one more time, and then leave the sport. I think that's a good decision for Michael Bisping. He's had a fantastic career. I mean, he's 31-7, most wins in UFC history, an illustrious career. He's got the belt. I think if he can defend it twice and leave, that would mean, to finish on your own terms and finish on top. That's all you want in an MMA career, I think. I think too many people let the sport decide when it's time for them to quit. I think that's happening with a few people, like Anderson Silva, BJ Penn, these sorts of people. I think Michael Bisping leaving while he's on top, on his own terms, is fantastic. However, the only issue with that is Dana White once said, once you have one foot out the door, then you're pretty much done, and it can affect your fights, but I don't think it'll affect Michael Bisping. I think he's got a plan. He knows he's going to execute it. I think he'll execute it. Massive fan of Michael Bisping, one of the greats of the UFC. What a career. I can't say enough about Michael Bisping. I'm a massive, massive fan. So, can't wait for that one. So, I'm just going to finish off by running through a bit of MMA news. David Branch, medical suspension, 45 days. Apparently, there's calls for Ronda Rousey to come out of retirement for one last fight. I don't agree with that idea. People are saying they want to see Ronda versus Cyborg. I think that would be one of the biggest UFC pay-per-views. I think that has the potential to be one of the biggest UFC pay-per-views of all time. Definitely in the top 10. Really good story. Cyborg has an amazing story. If you don't know his story, check out the Big Brown Breakdown with Chris Cyborg. She lays it all out. Fantastic. If that story was, if she was promoted right, it could be a massive fight and a massive card. I think Ronda should cut her losses at this point. An absolute pioneer in women's MMA. Nothing to be ashamed about. But I don't think she'll come back. I mean, she posts a lot on social media, hanging with a lot of the girls from the WWE. If she went down the WWE career path, I think that would be perfect for her. She's a massive star, massive likability factor. She doesn't need the money, so I don't think there's any need for her to come back. And other than that, I don't think there's any major news in the world of MMA at the moment. That's going to do it for this episode of the Championship Rounds podcast. This has been episode 1. I thank you so much if you tuned in. I don't know what qualifies me to talk to an audience about the world of fighting other than an extreme passion. I started this podcast because I just love MMA, boxing and martial arts. It's just a place I can get my thoughts out. It's a place I can talk about it. If I can even entertain one person with this thing, that's more than enough for me. So I thank you so much if you did tune in. In the future episodes, I'll be breaking down fight cards, talking about MMA news, getting more in depth. This is just a small episode, an introductory episode, so I thank you so much. If you'd like to hear more, please subscribe to the channel. I would love it if you came back and listened to another episode. Thank you for tuning in, and that's going to do it for this one.